Бум-бурум.
Boom boom.
Да, бум-бурум.
Yes, boom boom.
Кто-то понял уже, о чем я говорю.
Somebody understood what I'm speaking about, somebody don't, but we are going to speak about community, Habr community, the biggest in Europe resource for IT specialists. We're going to speak with Boom Boom,
Шевелевым, руководитель
Alexei
отдела.
Shevelyov, the head of the department which works with Habra.
Приветствую, Владимир.
Вообще
Hello, Alexei. Hello, Vladimir.
комфортнее, когда к тебе
How
обращаются.
comfortable do you feel how you're being addressed in real life?
Совсем близкие люди меня по имени.
Very close people, they call me by name, but in the internet, in the course of last 24 years,
И
I'm used to my nickname and everybody knows me by my nickname.
никто так и не смог
And during this period of time, nobody was able to
рифму к
Ты сам
никнейму.
придумал?
have negative rhyme to my nickname. I've invented in 98. We've been playing Counter-Strike in the club.
Придумал свой никнейм и до сих пор.
And I've invented this nickname and I still have this nickname. I like it. And it's always free at all services. Yes, it is. Sounds very simple,
Сразу и не напишешь.
but you cannot immediately spell it. Well,
Что сейчас представляет из себя комьюнити Хабр?
how the Hub community looks like today and which changes do you have in recent days?
Стоит, наверное, начать с того, что
Well, I should begin by saying that Habr is a UGC platform, a platform where the whole content is being user generated. So we divide it editorial, user, corporate. However, even in the companies,
те же пользователи.
in any of the companies, they create this content and share this content. Therefore,
У нас хакерская атака.
once again, we have a hack attack.
Трансляцию.
Once in a while, our broadcast will have such breaks, which is wonderful. It's a certain action. Yes, it is an action. So community, Habr community is a very tough combination of users, corporate representatives, etc. Registered. We have more than 1 million users registered. In the beginning, you said that largest community. Yes, it is very large. And how many active users out of this million regularly present on the platform? Well, regular ones, I cannot say exactly, but
Количество
I have a number with my hands. Writing authors in the course of the month, about 900 people every month.
авторы, которые хотя бы одну
Authors who write at least one publication in course of the month. More commenters, more readers,
под рукой
but
нет, но
the complete number I don't remember.
социальных сетей там
But according to social networks like Contact Twitter, Habr is the small drop in the sea. But speaking about very topical community, Habr is a big one. Well,
чтение пользователей компании.
close communication of users and companies,
Вот уже сколько там, 16 лет. Вот
16 years, it's developing.
какие изменения
Да,
произошли.
какие изменения?
Which changes happened? What communities, what changes in it?
В контексте вот событий, которые
Well, in the context of the events which happened in the beginning of this year,
есть, наверное, несколько ярко выраженных
there are several events which were not specific to previous periods, years, months.
у нас
The first one is that we have a type of users as read-only users with less rights on the site, and anybody can get registered. Anybody can get registered like this.
в феврале-в марте
In February, March, and April,
рост этих пользователей
there was a significant growth of these users, the growth of registrations of these users. So some time ago, users said, "Okay, guys, can you give us an opportunity to get registered to make the line and give us an opportunity to write personal messages?" We said, "Okay, sometimes you want to ask something. Communication is a good story."
дать нам
But then they say, "Okay, guys, can you give us possibility to write comments?" Okay, you give them a finger and they will bite your hand up to the elbow. They ask for the rights, and right now it's a totally reverse story. They say, "Okay, let's close this door because
регистрации
we observe the growth of registrations of users who bring very bad usefulness." What do you think about doubtful usefulness? They don't write articles, but they think themselves to be experts in issues of import substitution, immigration, production of different Elbrus and other things, and they send their comments.
как бы экспертные, то есть
Well, not like expert, as if expert, but they initiate different discussions, which very often are not welcomed, like political discussions and rough comments, obscene comments.
всем пользователям, но такие
We are happy to all the users, but these users, they bring certain problems to us.
был.
And the growth of their registrations was noticeable.
Придумать какие-то даже новые инструменты модерации,
So we had to invent some moderation tools so that we could cooperate with these users.
UGC платформ.
But Habr is a UGC platform. Users create content,
То есть, может быть,
etc.
немножко не очень
So maybe this is not a really dynamic story. It's not that you can take immediately and remove some bad user from the site, but nevertheless, users are detecting those who were
принимать меры, чтобы этого человека.
incidentally on the side. They take measures to neutralize this person, and this organism is getting cleaned from all the communications on several topics, trigger topics, and they are kind of showing the image that you light the fire and all the zombies are running to you. This is interesting. Yes, this is a very interesting practice. Many people are not happy. They say, well, we have some bad people getting registered, but we understand that we will see the number of registrations growing,
Себя ведут их.
and those who don't behave well, the audience is not going to be happy with them as well. So this is the first change which happened since the beginning of the year. It was noticed.
Второе это
The second thing, we have changed the character of voting. So we have read-only users without the right of voting by default, and we have
пользователи, которые заслужили
users who have the right of voting. So if previously
процентов голосов,
70% of votes of these users were positive,
количество голосов
right now the number of votes for other voters is a negative one.
были положительные голоса, сейчас они стали
There were positive voices, and now there are negative voices. Why is it like that? Why is it like that? These are the voices for karma. There are voices for publications. Then, in publications, as it was, that's how it is. Users are evaluating good material and negative material. They are kind of adding some minuses.
то
And the karma voices, karma votes, is an explanation that that's how the
когда
political arrival looks in the community when some event happens. And in a given case, this story, users start discussing it, and in the framework of thematical community, not everybody likes it, and people are opening some of their tools which allow them to
эту вот историю как
more intensively return this story back. For example, if you will analyze it, these minuses in more details,
пользователи, которого только зарегистрировали.
there are some users which just have registered. So this is a big organism, but it's a self-purging organism. In places where it's not possible, we're trying to help them do self-purge.
Наверно, два таких
Well, these are two main changes and modifications. Some were under the question mark.
Было бы интересно,
Okay, it would also be interesting to understand what mood you see on the side of the users. Do you see any changes in the mood, which is more skeptical, or maybe more acute, or maybe
все-таки мы говорим об
other moods you observe? Or we speak about big number of people, about great community, which has some internal composition and state.
наверно, коротко, сложно будет, наверное, как
Well,
ответить, но
it's going to be difficult to give you a brief answer, but different states, you can feel them.
первое, что хотел сказать,
The first thing that I would like to say is that
если вообще есть
it's
ли там
doubtful that there are people amongst us who are ready for such
и психологические
psychological, moral, physical, and other. And it was noticeable even by the activities on the site.
бац, и какое-то время
Suddenly, for a certain period of time, nobody was understanding what is to be done. And the activity has dropped significantly. Well, weekly we have calls amongst our companies. We discuss different matrices. Relatively speaking,
на сайте можно поделить на три
all site content can be divided into three categories: corporative, UGC user, and editorial content.
нормальные вот
With normal temperature, with normal market situation, the proportion is about 40, 40, 20, 20% editorial, and then users and companies,
а,
hand in hand.
после вот всей этой истории,
But after all this story has happened,
то есть, корпоративные блоги,
corporate bloggers have stopped significantly. There was 40%, now it's 20%.
Немножко не понимали,
Users also didn't understand what is to be done, and our editorial office had to continue shedding light on all this story, and the amounts of content in percentage, well, has increased, significantly
в течение
increased.
где-то месяца вот эти
And in the course of 1 month, this metamorphosis was happening, and in the end of March, they already have stabilized these.
исходное состояние.
So everything came back to the initial condition.
Если говорить о настроениях, то
Initially, speaking about the mood, users did have
может быть
some feelings that, well, we have to run somewhere, we have to hide, I need a notebook for this work, and I can do it from anywhere else. And then we could see higher number of publications about the topic of IT immigration.
описывает свой опыт.
Some people describe their experience and they share it, and Habr evaluates it. So there is a new topic. It always was available there. The immigration topic, IT immigration, was always on this site. It's a separate topic on our site. It's a separate hub, but it became the most popular here.
Ну, где-то на втором, третьем месте вот после.
On the second or on the third place after the informational security, etc. Previously, it was a flagship topic.
Люди стали делиться своим опытом, кто-то говорит,
And people are sharing their experience. Some people say, well, I was able to do that, I wasn't able to do that, but some other people say, okay, this was all discussed very actively, and people who was thinking about writing or not writing, they have understood that they have to write, they've shared it, and then we took all these publications and we transferred them to our social networks, and some readers in social network, they thought that we are lobbying
как сказать, типа, ребята, все валим там и так
какую-то,
далее. То
да,
есть
some pro escaping. Well, this is not editorial content, this is user generated content,
есть, как вот они
UGC, as it looks like. They share their own experience, not like you read the book and then you copy information. No, they share their own experiences.
вот эта тематика, она, наверное, подрастает.
And this topic becomes more and more popular. But can you give us top 5 topics which are very interesting at Habra?
На первом месте, мне кажется,
Well, in the first place, I think it was and it still is information security. It's a hub with the biggest number of subscribers. Not the biggest one, but it's very active. It's the biggest by activity-wise. The second one, I think,
как бы этого, наверное, ну, мне не хотелось, но это
no matter how I would like to define it, but it's a scientific popular topic, and with a section, scientific popular materials,
обсуждает, что там от Тесл до
where
морского.
people are discussing everything from
Весна, она выдала
newspapers to telescopes, and the spring was really
научпоп тематики, и
well known by the topics.
за счет этих
So
новостей
I think due to this news, it was much simpler for the audience because they've been discussing. Somebody made a picture of the orbital space station from his window. Somebody did something else. And another topic which is really popular recently, it's import substitution. These Baikal, Elbrus,
операционные системы,
operating systems, some software. They've been actively discussing it. But okay, guys, okay, let's accept the situation as it is given and then think about the future. Let's search for new tools. Let's invent some new tools. Let's get united. Not all of this was public among users and in the comments, only maybe some first steps. But if you're interested, please write in the personal mail. But very actively, it is being discussed in this Telegram channel.
всяким
So
ну, я в этом вижу, наверное,
I see how people are walking around,
общаться.
which is an advantage because you can see how people communicate.
Только на Хабре,
Because we don't want to have all communications on Habra. We want to connect people
ну, единомышленников, там, и
so that we would have same thinkers from all corners of the world.
которая была,
So one of our main objectives,
ну, не тоже задач,
not even objectives,
из, как сказать-то, короче, нам хотелось максимально в этих
we wanted to maximize in these difficult conditions,
делить людей на какие-то лагеря, потому
to
что
maximize people without dividing them into the camps, because any war comes to an end and people will have to live on.
там
And those who've been working on the side of developers, they will continue working developers, and they will have to communicate with those people they've been communicating with previously. Therefore,
все эти политические дискуссии, они
all these political discussions, they divide users, and we're trying to stop it. Our position has been announced about this story in the very beginning, but nevertheless, users if they have some polarity of opinions and somebody get a label to another one, it's going to be very difficult to root out from our side. So our main objective is like Leopold, hey, friends, let's be friends. You're from this country, he's from that country, let's be friends. Okay, speaking about the content consumption format, how do you think is it changing, and whether it's changing not as it's supposed to?
Здесь опять
What do you like the best
вопрос, на
of
который
it?
ты быстро не ответишь.
Well, here's another question if you will not immediately answer it. If you will enter Web Archive and if you will open Habr 2007 2008,
Публикация — это небольшие
you will see that most of the publications were small articles, and Rabla have purchased this, that. It was like a tweet format. But in the course of decade, Habr have evolved in the direction of long reads.
публикации — это
Practically every publication
десятки
is
тысяч.
a very long, like tens of thousands of symbols, and the audience, looking at the readership, they read it pretty well.
Вот,
A simple example: I've been communicating with an employee of Bigger Boy, and I asked, "How many publications do you have, and how many comments?" He said thousands. So I said, "Okay, Alexander,
как их
the
модерировать.
1,000 publications a day. How can you moderate it?"
Публикация — это прям вот одна.
Well, but understand, sometimes publications one picture. We don't have anything like that.
У нас именно лонгриды.
We have long reads,
К ним привыкла, но мы понимаем, что
and the audience is used to them. But we understand that audience is changing. Those who have had 10 years ago,
становится, может быть, интересно.
for them, it becomes much more interesting to read some other materials. If previously they've been reading about development, right now they maybe want to read about something else.
Подрастающее поколение.
But also, we see a new generation for whom it is more specific to have a clip thinking.
Мы о каком-то таком.
So we are thinking about our own show format.
Твиттер, не сторис, не.
Not Twitter, not stories, not Facebook, but something brief,
И
acceptable, fast food like.
как отдельный формат они у нас появились
And the news as a separate format came to us several years ago,
в
and we had to introduce it by small doses. We have understood that people read news from other platforms, so we
не беря эти новости, этот формат.
didn't take this piece of traffic previously, and we're cutting away these people if we don't take this format. So we created separate entities, separate section. We've been writing not long read but short news.
Там то-то, новость дополняется. И пользователь
This has happened, and the news has been added, and they've been discussing those news, and they have understood that this is how they demanded. They read it,
контент,
and right now the editorial content, sometimes traffic-wise,
пользовательский или корпоративный.
is higher than user or corporate content, irrespectively to the fact that quantitatively it's lesser. So in the beginning it was written by the editorial office, but then we gave the possibility to companies to write news, and then we've opened it for everybody.
Она как отдельная суть
So right now news is a separate entity.
по формату, и
Users like this brief format, and there's a big line with long reads.
иногда бывает.
And sometimes it happens that we have new interactive things in different formats, like public polls, research. We collect information with Google Forms, etc.
Спасибо тебе большое, Алексей.
Thank you very much, Alexei. Truthfully, sharing information in a community,
Информационной безопасности очень важно, потому что это
it's very important to share information because it's a very close community.
источники
And such sources as Habr, they do help these because when it is interesting for the users to generate content, to share their experience, and they are challenging each other, they give challenges to each other and ratings to each other. It's a great experience for us, for Russia, in creating such platforms. I wish you
процветания.
future development and sustainability in current conditions, and search for new formats and new authors. Yes, we're trying, doing our best. We have a lot of work, but it's an interesting work.
Работаю в Хабре, мне
11 years I work in Habr. Sometimes people ask me, don't I feel bored? Every day you come to work and you don't degrade, but you read something new, you learn something new, something that
там
will be discussed in another place, like in 1 week from now or in 1 month from now. It motivates you,
никуда уходить.
and you don't want to leave it. You don't want to leave anywhere. You want to boil in this sport
Да, спасибо.
and hang out with these people. Thank you. Thank you very much.